Have you ever left a subreddit because it was too toxic? What was it? Whoosh. Many of the jokes weren't even funny in the first place, and it was clear that the person understood the joke, but it was just so crap. However, a sub to substitute this is RM14 emphasis whoosh. Social anxiety. Not sure if it's exactly toxic, but it's the blind leading the blind. If you ever suggest that the person with social anxiety is in the wrong somehow, you get accused of not understanding. Like, yes, I completely understand why your mom wants you to learn to talk to people on your own. She's not being mean. There's also a lot of gatekeeping. Oh, you have a friend? Must not really have social anxiety. You have a job? I can't even leave the house. I have it worse. Our social skills helped me improve my life way I more. Aren't it led parents? I subscribed for a day and the posts were so over the top and fake I just unsubbed right away. The first post I came across was this outlandish story of a dad and his kid at a movie theater who had purchased their tickets online, and a woman got mad at them for cutting in line and physically assaulted the kid as he was walking to the theater. The cops were called and the woman was arrested, and the dad and son went on to watch the movie happily. Yeah, freaking right. You're lying, because the story also explained how the mom was convicted and taken to prison before the movie started and everyone clapped, and then they got to meet the Avengers. I left too afraid to ask. I posted a question I was, you guessed it, too afraid to know the answer to, and they crap all over me for asking. Totally defeated the point of the subreddit. It was so bad. Frick that place. Stupid questions is better for this. Live stream fail. Seems like everyone there just wants to start share drama and crap on every streamer they see. I just want to see funny live stream clips. It's basically just changed into a news site for Twitch streamers. News about drama, gossiping etc. Just normal. Does it count if the mods were the Toxicity? ETA. Sub. Amethyst hole. After a while you just get tired of the mental gymnastics some of those people go through to explain why someone isn't or isn't butthole. Plus a lot of the posts are just basic common knowledge questions. It's also home to some of the baitest bait posts on the entire internet. Honestly, I'd be surprised if even 10% of the posts there weren't complete and total bores. I'd put our relationship advice in that same category. Writing prompts. I made sure everything I wrote, all of which were well received, were well within the rules and over the word count. Problem was, I like to keep my responses short, and some power tripping mod was threatening to ban me because I didn't have a sufficient number of words more than the minimum, so it was still low effort. They were freaking limericks. For frick's sake. I worked hard on them, but there's only so much that can be done with fluffing words. Like frick off. I won't write here then. If the minimum is still too little, then raise the minimum you chose. Power tripping mods are so annoying in general. Big red flag for me is when I read, never argue or flame a mod. Like chill. A sub that doesn't follow the idea of its own name, who just casually muted me when I questioned it. I get that modding is hard, but if all you do is be a dong about it, then don't. I feel like I leave subreddits mostly if I find myself disillusioned by how pretentious it sometimes is. Say, murdered by words where it's just hey I said this mildly inconveniencing witty thing. Do murder or RM14 emphasis deep where everything is attributed to being rebellious bulls. Whoosh and noise gifs are up there with subreddits that lost their purpose. 90% of the posts in both have nothing to do with the premise, or are at best tangentially related. Gonna have to give it to Forever Alone. Used to frequent it a lot back when I was 17-20, never really got attention from girls during that time. Honestly, one day I just told myself, wallowing in self-pity won't fix anything. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy really. Haven't visited that sub in years. That's what I don't understand about subs like this or our incels or whatever it is. I was as big of a loser as anybody when it came to women. But at no point did I think that hanging out with other losers and making a club out of it was going to be the solution to my problems. Moving to Japan and teaching in Japan. Both offer some great information, but it appears that they want to actively stop people from going to Japan. The community is toxic from what I've seen. Anytime you ask a question, you're told to go to the frequently asked questions even though the information isn't in it. They assume everyone hasn't already read it. The few times people help others, they downvote the person answering the question. I'm sure they have their reasons, but it's a toxic community that I rather not go to for information. I remember seeing a video of someone talking about this. It had to do with Americans thinking they found their own personal oasis with no other Americans. Then when they see other Americans they flip because they want to be the only ones who live in those areas. Something along those lines. Can't remember the name. I can't remember what it was called, but a sub where you laugh at people who think they are great artists when they are terrible. Too many posts of people just taking someone's art they did for fun and everyone crapping all over it. Those people didn't think they were great. They were just trying to have fun and I didn't want to participate in bashing someone for that. Are delusional artists. Our free speech is not actually free speech. Our unpopular opinion posts only get upvoted when it's a popular opinion. Are short. I'm a 5'5" guy and I like my height. Over the last few years I really managed to kinda make it into a feature. So I found the subreddit and browsed it only to find out there weren't anything except men complaining about their height and how their lives would be better if they had a few spare inches. Apparently, some PPL just need any reason to hate themselves or SMTH. Just no mill. I enjoyed it for a tiny while because there was good advice on how to get some pushy mother-in-laws to respect your rules. But I feel like every post just tried to rope people into hating their in-laws even if whatever they did wasn't crazy. Even if your spouse's family isn't perfect, that's no reason to go no contact. I freaking hate our movies. They basically downvote you to heck if you don't like any new movie that gets a lot of hype. Man, freaking tell me about it. The only two places I've received rampant death threats here are news when I disagreed with some people's politics, and freaking movies when I said I really dislike some actors. Home improvement. You can do a great job at anything, but be like me and remove one dead tree that was in your way and you get crucified for taking out an oak tree which isn't even an oak tree because it's a habitat for birds aka spiders because I'm in Australia. Even when you show the 10 mature trees you planted in the renovation, doesn't matter. You killed nature and you should feel bad, regardless of the improvements. This might be an issue with the subreddit being primarily for the DIY crowd, whereas a subreddit for professionals would be understanding and probably more helpful. On mobile so I can't search, but choosing burgers was initially fun until it turned into pretty much nothing but screenshots of Craigslist texts where people don't understand the concept of haggling. It's also extremely fake. Our relationships. TL. DR. Just break up. Our justice porn just became too negative a way for me to spend my time. A lot of the time the person being justiced were mentally unstable or handicapped. I thought I liked to see people get their asses handed to them for being buttholes. Turns out I don't like seeing people get hurt. Our matital PC off shit makes me borderline depressed to look at sometimes. How full humanity can be really gets to me. Most of the first subs I ever joined ended up being trash. Our entity-led parents is full of fake stories, so when I posted real stories people jumped down my throat because there's no way this very plausible and mundane thing could ever happen. The comments of any given post were full of people having a war tagging that happened and nothing ever happens. Each side accusing the other of not knowing what they were talking about. It got exhausting to weed through all the muck just to find some funny stories about Brenda losing her mind in a Chuck E. Cheese. I think the ugliest one I've been a part of. I haven't joined anything outside of pretty mainstream ones tbh. So this is pretty tame. Was RM14 emphasis deep just because so many things were like UUUGH. My 8-year-old cousin put this on his Snapchat and some things posted by kids are funny because a lot of us used to find that stuff pretty hardcore. But it hits a point where I feel like they're just making fun of kids saying things that kids say. Again, I'm here for stuff like an earbud taped with scotch gift taped to someone's arm like it's supposed to be an IV. Don'ts. It was meant to be a support group for those who have a person close to them with borderline personality disorder, but it's mostly just people spouting venom about people who they think have it. I think that the way a lot of people use mental health subreddits as a substitute to actual mental health services is especially bad. Show our thoughts. The people there can be so snobby. REF tank. I went there for advice and to share progress of my aquarium. But goddamn, Anything that isn't shot on a professional DSLR and expertly after processed, or any questions that reveal you might be somewhat of a novice, will get downvoted to oblivion, while contributes make fun of you. If you want your hobby to survive, any hobby, you have to be welcoming to new participants and not drive them away. Not the case with the people over at REF Tank. Ask Scarier Questions is full of people who think the only way to be successful is to grind leet code all the time and practice interviewing constantly to get that 6-figure job. But even then it's not enough. Joined first semester of my freshman year of college, left about a month later. Hardly anything good in that sub. Army eye roll. This was actually the sub that got me to Reddit in the first place, but all they do now is repost and act like they're superior to anyone else. Don't forget the reposts complaining about reposts. Not toxic, but not always attainable as our DIY. The pieces are gorgeous, but not everyone has access to 3D printers or laser etchers. There are professionals posing as schlubs that get confused by a hammer. It's not look what I printed or look what I programmed. Gimme some scrap wood, random nails, and make that crap work. Yeah, the professionals posting their work and they're like they want validation is really weird. You have a business. You're the exact opposite of the entire concept of DIY. Our Gamma Grumps. For a group of people who sub and watch these YouTubers, they sure do hate them a lot. I have a sex. I originally joined it because I liked the idea of making fun of people who obnoxiously brag about having sex. According to these guys, though, any mention of sex is considered cringeworthy. It just seemed like a bunch of incels who find sex talk uncomfortable because they can't relate to it. Redditors constantly ask for interesting frisky stories, and then Thathup and or I have a sex anything actually worth reading. It's self-hate all the way down round these parts. Our dead bedrooms. I joined because my boyfriend at the time and I had wildly different levels of sex drives, as well as me being the one to initiate every time, so it helped me to know I wasn't alone. However, I realized pretty fast that there's a huge level to where people would post but refuse to acknowledge any possible solutions. And it became too frustrating and depressing to see so many posts of people that didn't even want to bring it up to their so because nothing will happen. I mean, did you consider, trying to do something about it? It was that, plus so much domating. It made me sad by proxy. Our unpopular opinion. It's impossible to get a post up, even when you follow the requirements. People take what you say as a joke or try to do anything to trigger you, and some of the opinions are dumb or are no-brainers. I thought that the idea was good, but the execution. The idea could never work though. The way Reddit works with downvotes. People will downvote if they disagree with you. Our grilled cheese. They want to see the same sandwich over and over with no deviation, and people actually got aggressively nasty. The weirdest. I can't think specifically, but I've definitely unsubbed from others which were filled to the brim with pedants. This comment in the context of this thread made me laugh really hard. Thanks. What is this thing? It's a pretty cool subreddit where users upload pictures of something they don't know what it is and the community tries to figure it out. The community isn't toxic at all, but I had a pretty bad experience with one of the mods when he temporarily bans me for making a wrong suggestion as to what something may have been. I contact the mod and ask why I was banned, and he states that he thought I was trying to make a joke. I respond by stating it wasn't a joke and that I was simply making a suggestion, and he gets triggered and permanently banned me. I get a little upset and direct message him and call him out on his bulls and why he was trying to get the last word in by permanently banning me and not listening to my argument, but he proceeds to act like a child in the messages. I'd say his name, but I don't want to resurface the whole thing again. Some mods don't deserve to be mods at all. Our trees is way too pot is god over there. Any criticism is met with a bunch of kids shouting it cures cancer. Ask scarier questions. That place is awful. It's supposed to be a place where you can go to get help looking for sweat jobs. Instead you get berated for asking questions or get low quality, sarcastic advice. No joke. It's common for people to say that if you haven't applied to hundreds of jobs then you're not trying hard enough to get a job in swell. If you're getting into a CS, which I don't recommend, definitely stay away from that place. Our subreddit drama. Thought the concept was funny, and I like some drama. When I saw it, basically posting about when subreddits fall into a pit of drama, For example, something like the Free Folk incident that just happened. But the way they go about posting isn't as a third party. Instead it turns into a biased brigade on one side of the argument. This isn't too bad in of itself, but it always felt as if it was a bunch of people outside of a specific subreddit saying why people in the specific subreddit are wrong or stupid. It's just a bunch of people berating other subreddits thinking they know the best path in any situation, even coming off as condescending. It is why real actually in Reddit drama form. Argument of Thrones. You can pretty much guess why. Agreed. If you look at a lot of by comparison, they find anything related to the books or movies pretty interesting. It's probably because it was so popular for so long and now no one really visits those subs other than the people oddly obsessed. Are fasting. About 90% of the people on there are in denial about having an eating disorder, extremely disordered habits, and it became a cesspool of pro-ED encouragement that I am all too familiar with. Ironically, the sub that was called R Pro ED and was shut down was actually a super supportive community and full of people who genuinely wanted everyone else to recover and be healthy. This is something that has always upset me. I feel like Pro ED would have been really helpful for a lot of young people poisoned by the piranha movement that began a few years ago, and the fact it was taken down even though there was no hate or anything within the sub baffles me. R Mercury. Our skincare addiction, just a weird, often aggressive vibe over there, and realized I didn't care that much about reading about skincare products once I figured out my routine. You have been visited by the IT lizard. Upvote or experience bad internet for a month. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.